Okay, let's get started. Our goal here is to plot two sets of points on the same graph. So I've made two data sets here, set 1 and set 2, x and y points for each one. And you can see sort of in advance that the x values for set 1 only go up to 9, but for set 2 they go up to 17.5, and we'll see how that plays out here in just a second. So first I'm going to plot these points, and this should be something you've already done if you're up to this point in looking at things. So where do we go? Well, let's start with and I'm using Excel 2003 or 4 or something like that on a Mac, but OpenOffice works in pretty much the same way. So let's try it here with Excel. So I go to the chart wizard here, and virtually every plot that we do in this class is going to be XY scatter with just points like that. So I'll choose that and go on to the next thing. I'll move this over to make sure we can see it. I use data series. I like to talk about the points in terms of series. And we're going to add a series. That's the first data set. So first I want the X values. So I will go over here and select these and say go. And then the Y values. And again, this is the same process as on some of the other videos. Just to get one graph, you can see the points are already being plotted here. Now we'll go on to the next thing. I don't like legends. I could put titles here. So I'll plot two sets on the same graph. That's what we're doing. For now, the x-axis is the x-axis, and the y-axis is the y-axis. In class, that will hardly ever be the case. I don't like legends because they just take up space, so I'll get rid of that. Go on to next, and I'm done with part 1. Let's move it up here so we can see it. Okay, so here's data set 1. It looks like part of a parabola. I'm going to make it into a smooth plot by changing the separate points, linking them together with line segments. So I do either a right click if you're on a PC or a control click if you're on a Mac, and it gives me this box, and I want to format the data series. Formatting means I want to change how they're displayed. So I click on that, and right now the default is showing a marker. I don't want any marker. I want to connect a smooth line, so I'll pick some nice color. Red's a nice color. And here we go, and I can make the line thicker or thinner and so forth, as we've done with other plots. So I say OK, and now, once I get off this, I seem to have it looks like part of a parabola here. And that's OK. So that's our first data set. That's this stuff over here. In fact, I think if I click on this, this highlights it to remind us that that's what that's for. Now I want to put these points on the same graph as this plot. So to do that, I pick any random point here, but I don't want to click on an axis point, and I don't want to click on the graph that I already have. So I pick some blank spot in the middle. Again, I'm doing a control click on a Mac or a right click on a PC, and I click there and I get this box, and we want to add more source data. That's the idea. The source data being these new points. So I'm going to click on that one, and now I'm back to adding series. So I'm going to add another series. The second series I'm adding, of course, is set 2. So just like before, I choose the X values. Here they go. And say good. And choose the Y values and say good. Right? And I'm going to click over here. By the way, I keep clicking up here just so you can see it. But I could also just hit enter after selecting these, and I'd get the same thing. Okay, so there we go. So now you can see the second set of points are showing up as points themselves, and it kind of makes sense. They start big, 347, and go down to 43, so it's going smaller. Also notice that the graph is getting stretched out because these x values go up to 17, whereas set 1 only went to 9. This is about 9 right there. So we're good so far, so I'm going to say OK. Now we're looking good. Here are the points, and now we're basically finished. You've got individual points and a smooth plot from a second set of data here on the same graph. Just by way of adding a little technique here, I'm going to do a right click or a control click again, and I want to format this data series. I still want to leave them as points, but for some reason Microsoft Office thinks you want shadows on these. Shadows are really ugly on this kind of thing, and 5's a little big. And since the other line is already red, let's try to make this one some other color, I don't know, blue, I guess. So I'll just make these blue and say OK. There we go. So now we have data points and a smooth plot all on the same graph. By the way, these data points, of course, if you're doing an experiment and these are the data points and this is your fit to those data points, something is wrong. We'll see when we do labs that the data points should, the smooth curve should pretty much follow the data points if we did a good job of data collection. Anyways, that's the story on plotting two sets of points on the same graph.